Now, from Wish TV, your local news source, this is All Indiana Politics.
Welcome to another edition of All Indiana Politics on this Sunday. I'm Phil Sanchez. We start today with the huge ruling this week on the state's new emergency powers bill. A Marion County judge says Indiana's new law allowing the General Assembly to call its own special session does not violate the state constitution. Lawmakers passed the law in response to last year's COVID-19 restrictions. Governor Eric Holcomb then sued, claiming only the governor could call a special session.
This is a win for the people of the state of Indiana. The fact of the matter is that people have to be in charge of their government. And when you don't allow their representatives, the legislature, to come into session to have discussion, collaborate, vote on policies, or prohibit policies, well, then you're not letting the people be in charge. And it's completely safe. There's nothing wrong. The governor still has his emergency declaration power. It's just that the legislators said, hey, you know, if this goes on too long, or if we decide in our discretion we want to meet for this reason to discuss these kinds of issues, we ought to be able to do that on behalf of the people. So that's all this lawsuit's about. Nothing personal. We left England and we became a separate country and a state because we didn't like anymore the fact that we were subjects of the king. And the beauty of America, the beauty of this state, is that the people are in charge of the king. The people are in charge of the government. And that's the way it has to be and should be. And I think you're finding an awakening all over the state about whether it's parents at school board meetings or employees at work taking charge of their lives again.
Senate President Rod Bray, meanwhile, sent us this statement saying this is a difficult matter that has not previously been brought before the courts. We are pleased the trial court's interpretation of Indiana's Constitution is consistent with that of the General Assembly's with regard to HEA 1123. Though we have disagreed with the governor regarding this law, we have and will continue to work with him and his office in order to serve the people of Indiana. Now, a spokesperson for Governor Eric Holcomb says they are reviewing the decision and a potential appeal. We also asked Todd Rokita his response to those who call the lawsuit a power struggle between him and the governor.
Fake news. And that's the only reason I'm on Channel 8, because you're not fake news. The fact of the matter is the governor and I and our offices work on hundreds of cases and issues all the time. And yeah, it's true. There is a disagreement about roles and what law is and what the Constitution is and is not. I'm still the attorney for the state. That same team of attorneys and I who worked on this case directly and personally is the same team that works on hundreds of other cases to save taxpayers money, millions of dollars a year. And really, they need to be congratulated. And that team talks to the governor's team on all those issues all the time. So government is running in that respect, and we don't allow these professional disagreements to get in the way of that.
Let's turn the discussion now to the new help coming for child care programs here in Indiana. The state will use $540 million from the American Rescue Plan to give grants to child care and early childhood education programs. Our team talked with Democrat State Senator Fadi Kadora, who championed the program. He says the grants will allow more Indiana child care centers to open and stay open and allow more parents to get back to work.
In Indiana, and specifically as a result of the pandemic, almost 50% of our workforce, which constitutes mothers and females in Indiana, were severely impacted and disengaged from the workforce development, and I think, or workforce and being at the workplace. And I think as equal citizens in our society, all childcare providers, whether it be the father or the mother, I think they deserve equality childcare. Childcare also impacts the mental health of children and their parents. We want the children to be able to flourish in environments where they can develop their social and emotional learning skills. And during the pandemic, we've seen how the staying at home and not being able to send kids or children to quality childcare services took a toll on the mental health of families and children in Indiana.
All right, coming up 37 years after the Colts left Baltimore on board the Mayflower trucks. We bring the mayors of those two cities together ahead of Monday Night Football's matchup. That's next on All Indiana Politics. And welcome back to All Indiana Politics as we do something a little bit different this week. We're under 36 hours away now until kickoff of Monday Night Football here on Wish TV. The Colts versus the Ravens in Baltimore. So we all know the history of how the Colts arrived here in Indianapolis. So our Alexis Rogers wanted to talk to both mayors before the primetime showdown.
Mayor Scott, thank you so much for being here with me today. Listen, man, we're about to come to your city. This is my first time really getting a chance to come to your city, but I heard that the Ravens fans aren't anything to play with. So I figured I'd try to compare the two cities, and who else better to ask than you? So let's start off with the fan base. Who has the better fan base, the Ravens or the Colts?
It's not even a comparison. First of all, that team that shall forever remain nameless in the eyes of Baltimoreans doesn't really have a fan base because its original fan base is here. Ravens Nation, the Ravens flock is a real fan base that's not even close.
Oh man, do I hear that there's still a little bad blood over in Baltimore with the Colts leaving?
We don't see horseshoes. We see Mayflowers when we see them, which is why we're going to beat them again come Monday night.
All right, so let's go city to city. Who has the better food?
Crab cakes, crabs, Baltimore. No one knows what Indianapolis is known for. They have food there. When I was there, I brought my own food. I couldn't even eat it. I had to bring crab cakes with me.
Oh man. Okay. Well then, who has the better dancers on their team? Because the end zone dances is something else.
Well, I guess first that team would have to score first. So we don't know because they don't score much. But, we got Hollywood Brown, we got Lamar. We know that our team has always been available. We know that Ray Lewis was known for his dance. Baltimore Ravens have the best dancers.
All right. And let's see who has the better mascot, because the mascot game is strong with this one.
Well, if you compare a Raven to a Mayflower truck, there is no comparison at all. It's going to be the Raven. It's going to be Poe that's going to make sure that everyone knows what we're about to do.
I love it. For anybody who has not been to Baltimore, they've never been around Ravens fans, what do they need to know about your city and your team?
That we are just like our team is like our city. We're not the glitzy. We're not the famous, the glamour. We're not that. We're the gritty. We're going to do puncher in the mouth football. And we have the best quarterback, the fastest man on the field, Lamar Jackson, on our team, which Indianapolis will know come Monday night.
Now, let me ask you this. Each place has accents, right? So, I've been told that I can't come to Baltimore and say Baltimore. I have to say Baltimore. Who has the better accent? How do I maneuver the accent thing?
It's got to be us, right? They call us Charm City, and that accent is a part of that charm. That's why when people come here, they don't leave. They stay here. When they come down here to go to Morgan State or one of our colleges, they stay because that charm, that accent lures people in. And then when you throw the seafood and hard-hitting football on top of it, folks never want to leave that.
Do you remember when the Colts left?
It was 11 days before I was born is when the Mayflowers decided to leave in the middle of a snowstorm in the middle of the night to forever remain nameless.
You are a diehard Baltimore Ravens fan, yes?
Yes, we're going to win, and we're going to win handedly.
Mayor Hogsett, so happy to see you. Okay, who has the better fan base, the Colts or the Ravens?
Oh, no question that Indianapolis has a better fan base. We travel so well. I think that because of our history with winning Super Bowls in the Peyton Manning era, not that Baltimore hasn't won a Super Bowl or two, but I'd take the Colts over the Ravens as a group of fans any day of the week.
All right, so let's talk about the food, too. Who has the better food?
Well, I'm not objective, Alexis, in this regard, but, whether it's a double cheeseburger at Working Man's Friend or whether it's a shrimp cocktail at St. Elmo's or whether it's, Indiana and Indianapolis's love of fried tenderloin sandwiches, I know that the mayor of Baltimore probably mentioned crab cakes. Who eats crab cakes? You need a good tenderloin. You need a hot dose of the sauce at St. Elmo's. You need to go out to Working Man's Friend and bite into a double cheeseburger. That's what living's all about.
I love it. Oh man, y'all are cracking me up today. Who has the better mascot?
We do. Blue? How can you be better than Blue?
Favorite player on the team? Who's your favorite player on the team?
Oh, I've got the entire team. Look, this has been a challenging year in a lot of different ways. But I got to say the Q, I know he's been banged up, but in terms of offensive linemen, and I'm really being serious now, I think he is the best offensive lineman in all of football. And so Quentin is probably number one, but who can not be for T.Y.? Who can not be for Darius? I mean, the team, they're coming off a big victory at Miami. I think they're gaining some momentum. Hopefully we'll get some people back and we'll take it to Baltimore on Monday Night Football.
Do you remember when the Colts left Baltimore?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I'm telling you more than you need to know, Alexis, but I was in the private practice of law at the time, and my law firm, not me personally, but the firm with which I was associated, represented the city of Indianapolis and the Capital Improvement Board in those negotiations. So here's the point. A lot of these super secret conversations were taking place right down the hall from my office. Now, I wasn't in them, but I kind of generally knew that the Colts were in the house. And so I won't say that I had anything to do with the Colts coming here. Oh, but what the heck? They're here because I was there.
I love it. Listen, the mayor of Baltimore put a little wager in with you, okay? He said that if his beloved Ravens win, he expects you to put on a Ravens jersey, eat your Indiana or Indianapolis food of choice, and also call them the Mayflower team. Now, I told him I'd relay the message. And so, hey, what do you say to this bet? He said he'd do the same thing. If the Colts win, he will put on a Colts jersey, even though he called it the Mayflower jersey, and he will eat crab cake and say kudos to the Colts.
You know what? That sounds like somebody who's trying to prop up a team that's going nowhere. Here's my response to that, Alexis. When the Colts win, I promise the mayor of Baltimore that I'll take some pictures that I will send to him when we go and win the Super Bowl this year.
Take all Indiana politics on the go with you. Download our podcast now. Part of the All Indiana Podcast Network and allindianapodcastnetwork.com.
And welcome back to All Indiana Politics on this Sunday as we welcome back Kip Tu, former Indiana Democratic Party chairman, and Abdul Hakim Shabazz, conservative commentator and publisher of IndyPolitics.org. Gentlemen, good to see you. Kip, loving the shirt after that interview we just had.
That was fun.
That was really good, right? So let's start with that court ruling on Indiana Emergency Powers Bill. Kip, do you buy what the Attorney General said earlier on in our show, that this suit was nothing personal? It was really just about a power struggle?
Not entirely. But, you know, look, we're not at the end of the process here. I know the governor on Friday indicated he may or may not appeal. It's a pretty close question, I think, in some regards. And I think it is whether it is personal or not personal. There's some pretty important policy implications for the state of Indiana. We have a traditionally weak governor. I don't mean that by, this governor is weak. I mean, the structure of our Constitution makes him a weak governor. 51 votes is all it takes, and a majority in both houses to override a veto. And if this stands, it even weakens him a little bit more. And I'm not sure that's necessarily good for the state of Indiana. a stronger executive sometimes is better.
Abdul?
Actually, I'm going to surprise Kip and agree with him for the most part. Big giant shocker here. No, I don't think it's personal. I think Todd Rokita does have higher aspirations. I think this helps him with some of the more ideologically based conservatives here in the state of Indiana. But I do think the governor's office, after they review the ruling, will likely appeal, and this will eventually go to the Indiana Supreme Court.
Wow. Okay, let's switch gears here now and talk about the economy and President Biden. Economic numbers, as you gentlemen very well know, out Friday show a much lower than expected job growth, but that unemployment is down. Abdul, I'll come to you on this one first. Is the economy dragging down the Biden White House?
You want me to go first?
Abdul?
I'm sorry, my dog was barking in the background.
I hear the dog. That's okay.
Yeah, no, I think overall,
is the economy dragging down the White House? Yeah, go ahead.
I think overall the economy is doing fine. I mean, the trick is to get people back to work. And like I said, because, and I think the problem is because people aren't being vaccinated, aren't wearing masks, that is kind of slowing down our economy. So we need to get people to wear masks, to get vaccinated, so we can get back to full speed.
Kip, I think you're probably going to agree with that.
Well, first of all, I was going to say the dogs do a better job than Abdul, but in this particular instance, the fact of the matter is that the unemployment number dropped a great deal, which is a good sign for the economy in the long term. With respect to whether it helps Joe Biden or helps Democrats or not, well, the most important thing is what does it do for people out there? Yeah. And people, there's plenty of jobs for folks if they want them, and that means it's a good economy.
So we'll stay there for a moment, though, if you guys don't mind. Recent polls do show that the president's approval rating at its lowest point so far during his first year in office. Kip, what do you make of that?
Well, I mean, he's had a tough month or so. The withdrawal in Afghanistan didn't make for what I would say positive looks on television. I think it's the right decision. I think a year from now, no one's going to remember it or care when the election comes around. I mean, his approval rating isn't where he wants it to be, I'm sure, but it's in part because we can't get Congress to get things done. And once Congress does get things done, I think his approval rating goes up because he'll be seen as getting things done.
Yeah, Abdul, to Kip's point, I mean, it always does fall on the president, right? He's in charge or she's in charge. So I would assume that you're not surprised by these numbers.
No, not at all. And also, you got to remember, too, a day in politics is a lifetime. I mean, we got midterm elections, we've got another presidential election, and both Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton also had low approval numbers at some point in time in their presidency. In their first term, they both went on to get reelected. So I take polls with a grain of salt. They're a snapshot in time, but they're not a prediction.
Yeah. I want to get your thought on this one. Both Senators Young and Braun voted against raising the debt ceiling, even for the short term to December. Kip, Republicans say if Democrats want to raise the debt ceiling and limit, they can do it on their own.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, look, we've discussed this before, Phil. I appreciate you bringing it up. It's the height of hypocrisy by both senators to take this position. It's a purely political position. Both of them know better. Both of them know that for Americans to default on their obligations would be a catastrophe for our economy. And what they're doing is they're trying to make a political point that, we're spending too much money, but they were in power and they voted for the Trump stuff. And that's where we are right now because of where Trump was. All these are for debts that were already incurred, not for new spending. And so for them to say, yeah, we voted for all that, we voted for these tax cuts, but we're not going to let America pay its debts is just the height of irresponsibility.
Abdul, 30 seconds. Oh, so we're having some technical difficulties with Abdul's mic, so we can't even
Maybe we can just get the dogs to talk, Phil.
Sorry about that. No. Republicans are going to have $7 trillion worth of debt when Donald Trump was president. That's more than a third of our debt that we have right now. So it's a little late to start talking about fiscal responsibility.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, good to see you. Let's go Colts, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you. We'll be right back. All right, that's it for us. Thank you for joining us for All Indiana Politics. I'll see you tonight, live outside M&T Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. And remember to watch the Colts and Ravens live Monday night at 8:15 right here on Wish TV. Have a great rest of your weekend. Let's go Colts.